6 months ago, I thought my son loved me. Then I heard 5 words that changed everything. Mom's so stupid about money. My name is Eleanor, and I'm 68 years old. For 43 years of marriage, my husband Robert and I raised our son Michael with love, gave him everything we could. When Robert passed 5 years ago, Michael stepped up, or so I thought. "Don't worry about the paperwork, Mom," he'd say. "I'll handle everything." I was so grateful to have such a caring son. Every Tuesday for the past 2 years, I'd drive over to Michael's house with a fresh apple pie. It was our little tradition, something that kept us close after his father's death. That Tuesday started like any other. I'd spent the morning baking Michael's favorite, Dutch apple with extra cinnamon, just the way he liked it since he was a little boy. As I pulled into his driveway, I noticed a car I didn't recognize parked by the gate. Something felt off. In my 68 years, I've learned to trust my instincts. Instead of walking straight to the front door like I usually did, I decided to peek around the side of the house to see if everything was okay. That's when I heard Michael's voice coming through the open window. He was on the phone, and what I heard made my blood turn to ice. "Yeah, the old lady signed everything," Michael was saying, his voice casual and cold. "She has no clue I'm the beneficiary now. The house, the life insurance, Dad's retirement fund, it's all mine when she kicks the bucket. And the way she's been forgetting things lately might not be that long." Then he laughed. My own son laughed about my death. "Mom's so stupid about money, she'll never figure it out," he continued. I heard Ashley's voice in the background, Michael's wife. "When do we tell her about the nursing home?" "We don't," Michael replied. "I'll just call the place when I'm ready. She won't fight it. She's too scared to be alone." I stood there for 20 minutes, hearing every detail of their plan. But they had no idea. I'd been recording everything. I recorded my son's cruel plan for 20 minutes. What I discovered next made my blood run cold. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Michael's words in my head. The old lady signed everything. What had I signed? I've always been careful with paperwork, but after Robert died, I was so overwhelmed, so grateful for Michael's help. Had I been too trusting? The next morning, I went to my home office, the same room where Robert used to handle all our finances. I pulled out every document, every folder, every piece of paper Michael had ever asked me to sign. What I found made me sick to my stomach. Bank account beneficiaries, changed to Michael's name. Life insurance policies, Michael listed as the sole beneficiary, not his sister Jennifer like I thought. Even worse, I found documents I didn't remember signing at all. My signature was there, but the writing looked different. Shaky, like someone had guided my hand. 2 years. For 2 years, Michael had been systematically stealing my financial security while pretending to love me. Every hug, every "I love you, Mom," every Tuesday dinner, it was all an act. He wasn't helping me with paperwork. He was robbing me blind. I sat in Robert's old chair, surrounded by evidence of my son's betrayal, and cried for the first time since Robert's funeral. But then something else happened. The sadness turned to anger. Then the anger turned to determination. I walked to Michael's old bedroom, the one he grew up in, which I'd kept exactly the same since he moved out. In his old desk drawer, hidden behind some school awards, I found something that made my hands shake. It was a nursing home brochure. Not just any nursing home. Sunset Manor, the place where Mrs. Henderson from church had been sent against her will. The brochure was already filled out with my information. My name, my age, my medical details. At the bottom, in Michael's handwriting, was a note. "Mom, dementia symptoms increasing, needs immediate placement." That's when I realized this wasn't just about money. Michael was planning to have me declared incompetent and locked away so he could take everything without interference. And according to his timeline, it was supposed to happen within the next month. My son invited me to celebrate my birthday, but I knew it was actually my funeral. 3 days after I discovered the nursing home paperwork, Michael called me with the sweetest voice he'd used in months. "Mom, Ashley, and I want to take you out for an early birthday celebration this weekend. Nothing fancy, just family dinner at Romano's. You know, that Italian place Dad used to take us to. Romano's. The place where Robert proposed to me 45 years ago. Michael knew how much that restaurant meant to me. He was using my own memories as bait. "That sounds lovely, sweetheart," I said, playing my part. Should I ask Jennifer to join us? Oh, Jennifer's busy with the kids this weekend. Just us three. We have some exciting news to share with you. I bet they did. Saturday evening came, and I dressed up in my best blue dress. The one Robert always said brought out my eyes. If this was going to be my last dinner as a free woman, I was going to look dignified. At the restaurant, Michael and Ashley were all smiles and fake warmth. Michael pulled out my chair, Ashley complimented my dress, and they ordered a bottle of wine to celebrate. "Mom, you look a little tired," Ashley said with fake concern. "Have you been feeling okay? Sometimes I worry about you living alone in that big house." I played along, acting a bit confused about the menu, fumbling with my purse. Michael's eyes lit up every time I seemed forgetful. He was documenting my mental decline right there at the dinner table. "You know, Mom," Michael said, reaching across to pat my hand, "Ashley and I have been thinking. Maybe it's time to consider some options. There are some really nice assisted living places nearby, very comfortable with people your own age." "Assisted living?" I asked, making my voice small and worried. "Nothing to worry about right now." Ashley jumped in quickly. "We're just thinking ahead. You know, planning for the future." As Michael poured my wine, he leaned close and whispered, "Don't worry, Mom. I'll take care of everything. You don't have to make any hard decisions. I'll handle it all." I smiled back at him and said, "I know you will, sweetheart." What Michael didn't know was that I had a small recording device in my purse, capturing every word of their manipulation. And what Ashley didn't know was that I'd already spoken to 3 different lawyers about elder abuse. They thought they were planning my imprisonment, but I was planning their downfall. I showed my late husband's lawyer the documents. His face went white and he said, "This is criminal." The Monday after that horrible dinner, I called William Thompson, Robert's lawyer and friend for over 20 years. William had been the one to handle Robert's will, and he'd always told me to call if I ever needed anything. "Eleanor," he said when I walked into his office, "you sounded upset on the phone. What's going on?" I spread all the documents across his desk, the forged signatures, the changed beneficiaries, the nursing home paperwork, everything. Then I played him the recordings from Michael's phone call and the restaurant dinner. William's face changed as he reviewed each document. His professional composure slipped away, replaced by genuine anger. "Eleanor, this isn't just betrayal," he said, his voice tight with controlled fury. "This is criminal fraud, elder abuse, financial exploitation. Your son could go to prison for this." "But William," I said, "Michael thinks he's outsmarted me. He thinks I'm just a confused old widow who doesn't understand money." William looked up from the papers, and for the first time that day, he smiled. "Eleanor, do you remember what Robert set up in addition to his will?" I shook my head. Robert had been private about some of his financial arrangements. "Your husband created an irrevocable trust, one that Michael knows nothing about. The house Michael thinks he's inheriting? It's protected. The money he thinks he's stealing? It's less than 10% of your actual assets." My jaw dropped. "What do you mean?" William pulled out a thick folder I'd never seen before. Robert was worried about exactly this scenario. He set up offshore accounts, protected trusts, and investment portfolios that are completely separate from anything Michael has seen. "You're not just financially secure, Eleanor. You're wealthy. Very wealthy." I stared at the numbers on the pages. Robert had left me with enough money to live comfortably for the rest of my life, help Jennifer and her children, and still have millions left over. "But there's more," William continued. Robert documented every conversation he had with Michael about money over the last 5 years before he died. Every time Michael asked for loans, every time he complained about his inheritance, every lie he told. Robert suspected Michael was waiting for him to die. William handed me a sealed envelope with my name on it, written in Robert's handwriting. "He left this for you, with instructions to open it only if Michael ever tried to take advantage of you." Inside the envelope was a letter that made me cry and smile at the same time. "My dearest Eleanor, if you're reading this, it means our son has shown his true colors. I'm sorry you had to learn this about Michael, but I'm proud of the strong woman I married. You are not a victim. You are a warrior. Use the evidence I've gathered, trust William completely, and show Michael that his father raised him better than this. All my love, Robert." William smiled grimly as I wiped my tears. "Eleanor, your husband made sure Michael could never touch the real money. And he left you something else. Evidence of every time Michael lied to him about money. Now it was my turn to smile. Michael thought he was stealing from a helpless widow. But he was actually stealing pennies while I sat on a fortune he couldn't touch. And his father had been watching him the entire time. My son scheduled a doctor's appointment for me, but I had already spoken to the doctor. 2 weeks after my meeting with William, Michael called with another one of his caring son voices. "Mom, I've been worried about some of the things you said at dinner last week. You seemed a little confused about dates, and I noticed you're having trouble with names sometimes." This was rich, coming from the man who was stealing my life savings. "I think it might be a good idea to have Dr. Patterson take a look at you. Just a routine checkup, nothing to worry about." Dr. Patterson. I knew that name. He was Michael's golf buddy, not my regular doctor. I'd seen them together at church functions, always talking about their weekend games. "That's very thoughtful of you, sweetheart," I said. "When did you want to schedule it?" "Actually, I already made an appointment for Thursday at 2. I hope that's okay. I know how quickly these things can book up." Already made an appointment. Without asking me. With his friend, not my doctor. "Of course, dear. I'll see you Thursday." What Michael didn't know was that I'd already done some investigating of my own. I called Dr. Patterson's office directly and spoke to him personally. "Dr. Patterson, this is Eleanor Walsh. I believe my son Michael has scheduled an appointment for me to discuss some memory concerns." "Oh yes, Mrs. Walsh. Michael is quite worried about you. He's mentioned some significant cognitive decline, confusion about dates and finances. He's asked me to evaluate whether you might need additional care arrangements." "I see. Doctor, before that appointment, could I ask you to listen to something?" I played Dr. Patterson the recording of Michael's phone call, the one where Michael laughed about my death and called me stupid about money. Then I played him the restaurant recording where Michael and Ashley discussed having me declared incompetent. The silence on the phone was deafening. "Mrs. Walsh," Dr. Patterson said finally, his voice completely changed. "I think we need to have a very different kind of conversation on Thursday." Thursday arrived, and Michael drove me to the appointment, confident and relaxed. He even hummed along to the radio, probably thinking about all the money he'd have access to once I was declared mentally incompetent. In Dr. Patterson's office, I underwent a thorough examination, memory tests, cognitive assessments, discussions about my daily routines. Michael sat in the corner, watching expectantly. "Well," Dr. Patterson announced after an hour of testing, "I have to say, Mrs. Walsh, your cognitive function is exceptional for someone your age. Your memory is sharp, your reasoning is clear, and your understanding of complex issues is impressive." Michael's face fell. "But doctor, you said—" Dr. Patterson cut him off. "What I said, Michael, was that I would evaluate your mother's mental state, and my professional opinion is that your mother is one of the sharpest, most mentally competent women I've met this year. You should be proud to have such an intelligent mother." As we left the doctor's office, Michael looked confused and worried. "But you said—" he started. Dr. Patterson interrupted. "Your mother is the smartest woman I've met this year. You should be proud." I watched Michael's plan crumble in real time. Without a diagnosis of mental incompetence, he couldn't have me committed. Without a commitment, he couldn't take power of attorney. Without power of attorney, he couldn't access the money he thought he was stealing. But I wasn't done with him yet. Not even close. My daughter called me crying, "Mom, Michael made me sign something." That's when I knew he'd gone too far. 3 days after the doctor's appointment, my phone rang at 7 in the morning. It was Jennifer, my daughter, and she was sobbing. "Mom, I need to tell you something, and I'm so ashamed I don't know how to say it." "Sweetheart, what's wrong? Are the kids okay?" "The kids are fine, but Mom, Michael made me sign something last month, and I think I made a terrible mistake." My heart sank. Michael had dragged Jennifer into his scheme. "What kind of document, honey?" "He said it was paperwork to help take care of you. He told me you were having memory problems and that you needed someone to help manage your finances. He said you were too proud to ask for help, but that you'd signed papers giving him permission to handle everything." Jennifer was crying harder now. "He said all I needed to do was sign as a witness that you were mentally competent when you signed the documents. He said it was just a formality to protect you from people who might try to take advantage of you when you got older." "Oh, Jennifer. But Mom, You sound fine. You sound exactly like yourself. And when I talked to Ashley at Emma's soccer game yesterday, she said some things that made me realize, Mom, I think Michael lied to me. What did Ashley say? She said they were looking at nice places for you to live, somewhere you'd be more comfortable and wouldn't have to worry about maintaining that big house. But Mom, you love that house, and you're perfectly capable of taking care of yourself. Jennifer was quiet for a moment, then asked the question I'd been dreading. Mom, I gave Michael $50,000 because I thought you were sick and needed expensive care. Where did that money go? I smiled grimly, even though Jennifer couldn't see me. We're about to find out, sweetheart. I told Jennifer everything. The recordings, the forged documents, the nursing home paperwork, my meeting with William Thompson. By the time I finished, Jennifer was furious. I can't believe I fell for it, she said. I should have talked to you directly instead of trusting Michael. Honey, you were trying to help your mother. That's what good daughters do. But Michael took advantage of your love and your trust. What can we do, Mom? Well, I said, thinking about the conversation I'd had with William Thompson that morning. Your brother thinks he's been very clever, but he's about to learn that he's not the only one in this family who can plan ahead. Jennifer and I spent the next 2 hours on the phone, coordinating our response. She agreed to help me gather more evidence, and I agreed to make sure she got her $50,000 back, with interest. Michael had made a critical error. He'd assumed that Jennifer would never question his version of events. He thought he could manipulate both of his sisters and his mother without any of us talking to each other. But he'd forgotten something important. Good families communicate, and when good families are threatened, they protect each other. Michael was about to find out just how protective we could be. I called my son and said, I'm ready for the nursing home. His response revealed his true nature. With Jennifer's help and William Thompson's legal guidance, we set up what William called a sting operation. The plan was simple. Give Michael exactly what he thought he wanted and let him reveal the full extent of his fraud while we recorded everything. I called Michael on a Tuesday morning, making my voice sound tired and defeated. Michael, sweetheart, I've been thinking about what you and Ashley said at dinner, about those assisted living places. Oh, Mom, what about them? Well, I've been feeling so overwhelmed lately. The house is too big. I get confused about the bills sometimes, and I'm tired of trying to manage everything by myself. I could practically hear Michael's excitement through the phone. Mom, are you saying you'd be interested in looking at some places? I think I'm ready. I'm ready to let you take care of everything, just like you offered. There was a pause, and when Michael spoke again, his voice had changed. Gone was the fake concern, replaced by cold efficiency. That's great, Mom. Really great. I've actually already done some research on places that would be perfect for you. You have? Oh, yes. I've been planning for this for a while now. There's a place called Sunset Manor that has everything you'd need. Full care, medication management, social activities. You wouldn't have to worry about anything. When could I move in? Actually, Mom, I've already spoken to them about availability. They have a room that could be ready next week. Next week. He'd already arranged my imprisonment for next week. But Michael, what about the house and my things? Don't worry about any of that. I'll handle the house sale and make sure your important belongings are moved to your new room. The rest we can donate or sell. You won't need much where you're going. Where I was going. Like I was going to prison. And my finances? I get so confused about money. Michael's voice got even colder and more businesslike. Mom, I've already taken care of all of that. Remember all those papers you signed? They give me the authority to handle your accounts, your investments, everything. You don't need to worry about money ever again. That's such a relief, sweetheart. I trust you completely. I know you do, Mom. I'll call Sunset Manor today and tell them you're ready to move in. We can drive over on Friday to see your new room. Michael, you've thought of everything. I don't know what I'd do without you. Don't worry, Mom. I've got everything under control. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen shaking. Not from fear, but from rage. In that 15-minute phone call, Michael had revealed everything. He'd already arranged my commitment, he planned to sell my house without my permission, and he was going to steal my money while I was locked away and helpless. But what Michael didn't know was that William Thompson had been listening to every word on a three-way call, recording everything. And what he really didn't know was that I'd already found the perfect place for him. It wasn't a nursing home. It was a courtroom. I walked into Michael's living room with a police officer. His face was priceless. Friday morning came, and Michael called to confirm our tour of Sunset Manor. "Mom, I'll pick you up at 10 and we'll go see your new room. I think you're going to love it there." "Actually, Michael, why don't you come here first? I have some questions about the paperwork, and I'd like to discuss a few things before we go." "Sure, Mom. Whatever makes you comfortable." At exactly 10 o'clock, I heard Michael's car in my driveway, but he wasn't alone. I watched from my window as he got out of the car with Ashley and another man I didn't recognize, probably someone from Sunset Manor. What Michael didn't expect was to see William Thompson's car already parked on the street. And what he definitely didn't expect was to see the police cruiser that pulled up just as he reached my front door. I opened the door before Michael could knock. "Hello, sweetheart. Come on in. We have some visitors." Michael walked into my living room and stopped short. Sitting in my armchairs were William Thompson, Officer Rodriguez from the local police department, and Detective Sarah Kim from the Financial Crimes Unit. "Mom, what's going on?" Michael asked, his voice already changing from confident to worried. "Have a seat, Michael. We need to talk." "Mrs. Walsh," Detective Kim said professionally, "we're here because your attorney has presented us with evidence of financial elder abuse and fraud. We'd like to ask your son some questions." Michael's face went white. "This is ridiculous. I've been helping my mother with her finances because she can't handle them anymore." "Is that so?" William Thompson opened his briefcase and pulled out a manila folder. "Then perhaps you can explain these documents." He spread out copies of all the papers Michael had forged, highlighted the signature discrepancies, and laid out the timeline of fraudulent transfers. "And maybe you can explain this," Detective Kim said, pressing play on a small recording device. Michael's own voice filled the room. "Yeah, the old lady signed everything. She has no clue I'm the beneficiary now. Mom's so stupid about money, she'll never figure it out." Ashley gasped from the doorway. She'd never heard the original recording, only Michael's cleaned-up version of events. "This is a mistake," Michael said desperately. I was talking to a friend, exaggerating. I would never actually—" "Here's another one," I said calmly, pulling out my phone. I played his voice from our Tuesday conversation. "I've already taken care of all of that. Remember all those papers you signed? They give me the authority to handle your accounts, your investments, everything." Michael looked around the room like a trapped animal. "You recorded me? Your own son?" "I recorded a criminal," I replied. "It just happens that the criminal is my son." Officer Rodriguez stood up. "Michael Walsh, you're under arrest for financial elder abuse, fraud, and forgery. You have the right to remain silent." As the officer read Michael his rights, my son screamed at me, "You can't do this! I'm your son!" I looked him in the eye, really looked at him, for the first time in years. "A son protects his mother," I said quietly. "You're just a thief who happens to share my DNA." As they led Michael away in handcuffs, Ashley stood in my doorway crying. "Mrs. Walsh, please, there has to be some mistake. Michael loves you." "No, Ashley," I said sadly. "Michael loves my money. There's a difference." The house felt different after they left. Quieter, cleaner, like a weight I didn't know I'd been carrying was finally gone. William Thompson packed up his papers and smiled at me. "Eleanor, how do you feel?" "Like myself again," I said. "For the first time in 5 years, I feel like myself again." My son's arrest made the local news. When his friends saw it, his life completely fell apart. The story broke on the evening news 2 days later. Local man arrested for elder abuse of his own mother. They didn't use my name, but everyone in town knew who Michael Walsh was. By the next morning, my phone was ringing constantly. Friends from church, neighbors, even people I barely knew were calling to check on me and express their shock. Apparently, Michael had been telling people around town that I was losing it and that he was sacrificing to take care of me. "Eleanor," said Mrs. Henderson, my neighbor of 20 years, "I had no idea what that boy was putting you through. When he told me you were having memory problems, I offered to help with grocery shopping. I thought you were sick." Mrs. Patterson from the church auxiliary called crying. "Honey, Michael asked our prayer group to pray for your declining health. We've been praying for you for months, thinking you were suffering from dementia. That poor boy made it sound like he was carrying such a heavy burden." The picture became clear. Michael hadn't just been stealing from me. He'd been systematically destroying my reputation in the community, setting up the narrative that I was mentally incompetent. When the time came to have me committed, he would have had dozens of witnesses ready to testify that everyone knew I was losing my mind. But the news story changed everything. People who had pitied Michael for his burden now saw him as a criminal who had abused his elderly mother. People who had avoided me because they thought I was confused now understood that I'd been the victim of an elaborate fraud. The professional consequences for Michael were immediate and devastating. His contracting business, which depended on trust and reputation in our small community, collapsed overnight. Clients canceled projects, suppliers demanded immediate payment for outstanding bills, and his business loan was called in. Jennifer called me with updates. "Mom, Ashley is furious. She says Michael told her that you had already agreed to sign the house over to them. She thought they were moving into your house after you went to the assisted living place." What? She had no idea Michael was stealing money. She thought everything was legitimate. When she found out about the forged documents and the recordings, she called a divorce lawyer. Within a week, Michael's entire life had crumbled. His business was bankrupt. His wife had filed for divorce, and he was facing serious criminal charges that could send him to prison for up to 10 years. Ashley called me, sobbing. "Please, Mrs. Walsh, please don't press charges. Michael made a mistake, but he's not a bad person. Think about the children. They need their father." I took a deep breath before answering. "Ashley, honey, stealing from your mother isn't a mistake. It's a choice, and choices have consequences. As for the children, they're better off learning early that actions have consequences than growing up thinking they can manipulate and steal from people who love them. But he's your son." "Yes," I said sadly. "He's my son, and that makes his betrayal even worse, not better." I hung up the phone and sat in my kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd baked apple pies for Michael every Tuesday for 2 years while he was planning to steal my home and have me committed. The house was quiet, but it wasn't lonely. It was peaceful. For the first time in years, I didn't have to wonder if someone was lying to me or taking advantage of me. I didn't have to second-guess my own memory or worry about signing documents I didn't understand. I was free, and I was finally ready to figure out what the rest of my life was going to look like. From betrayed mother to empowered woman, how my son's greed gave me my life back. 6 months have passed since that morning when I drove by Michael's house and heard him planning my destruction. As I sit here in my beautiful kitchen, surrounded by photos of the people who truly love me, I can hardly believe how much my life has changed. Michael pleaded guilty to all charges. With the recordings, the forged documents, and the testimony from Dr. Patterson about his attempted fraud, his lawyer advised him that fighting the case would only result in a longer prison sentence. He's serving 3 years in state prison and will owe full restitution, every penny he stole, plus damages. Ashley divorced him before the trial even began. She kept the children and moved back to her mother's house in another state. I don't blame her. She was as much a victim of Michael's lies as I was. I've started sending birthday cards to the grandchildren. Maybe someday, when they're older, they'll understand what really happened. Jennifer and I are closer than we've ever been. She felt terrible about giving Michael that $50,000, but William Thompson helped me recover it from Michael's frozen assets, plus interest. Jennifer uses part of it for her children's college funds and part of it for our new tradition, monthly weekend trips together. Last month we went to the beach. Next month we're visiting Napa Valley. My house, my beautiful home that Robert and I bought 43 years ago, is still mine. William helped me set up additional protections to make sure no one can ever again try to steal it from me. I've also created a trust that will ensure Jennifer and her children are taken care of while making it impossible for anyone to manipulate me financially ever again. But the most important change isn't in my bank account or my legal documents. It's in me. The woman who stood outside that window 6 months ago, listening to her son plan her imprisonment, was broken, trusting, and naive. The woman I am today is strategic, informed, and protected. I've learned to trust my instincts again. I've learned that love should never be conditional on financial gain. And I've learned that sometimes the people who hurt us the most are the ones who teach us our most important lessons. I'm not the same Eleanor who baked apple pies every Tuesday for a son who was stealing from her. This Eleanor bakes apple pies for the church fundraiser and the new neighbor who just moved in down the street. This Eleanor volunteers at the senior center, helping other elderly people recognize the signs of financial abuse. This Eleanor has a support network of real friends who value her for who she is, not what she has. I've started dating again, something I never thought I'd do. His name is Frank. He's a retired teacher, and he makes me laugh every time we talk. When I told him about Michael, he said, "Eleanor, that wasn't about you being trusting. That was about him being untrustworthy. Don't let his failures make you lose faith in goodness." My scars taught me that love should never be conditional, trust should always be verified, and wisdom often comes from our deepest wounds. Michael thought my grief over Robert, my loneliness, my natural trust in my children. He saw them as vulnerabilities to exploit. But those scars didn't break me. They taught me. I learned the difference between people who love you and people who love what you have. I learned that sometimes the cruelest betrayals come from the people closest to us. But I also learned that surviving betrayal doesn't make you suspicious. It makes you selective. Every Tuesday now, I bake something new. Sometimes it's banana bread for Frank. Sometimes it's cookies for Jennifer's kids. Sometimes it's a casserole for someone at church who's going through a hard time. But I never bake out of obligation or guilt anymore. I bake out of joy. The other day, I was cleaning out Robert's desk and found an old photo of Michael as a little boy, gap-toothed and grinning, covered in flour from helping me bake his first apple pie. For just a moment, I felt sad for that little boy who somehow grew up to become a man who could steal from his own mother. But then I remembered something Robert used to say, "Eleanor, you can't save people from the consequences of their own choices. The best you can do is love them enough to let them learn." I loved Michael enough to let him learn. I loved myself enough to refuse to be his victim. And I loved my family enough to protect what Robert and I built together. My son thought my scars made me weak. My grief, my loneliness, my trust, he saw them as vulnerabilities to exploit. But those scars didn't break me. They revealed the strength that was always there, waiting for me to need it. I am 78 years old. I am a widow, a mother, a grandmother, and a survivor. I have been betrayed by someone I loved more than my own life, and I have chosen to transform that betrayal into wisdom. Michael gave me the greatest gift of all, though he'll never understand it. He showed me my own strength. He showed me that I could be knocked down and still get back up. He showed me that I could be lied to, stolen from, and abandoned, and still choose love over bitterness. My scars became my strength. My pain became my power. And my wisdom? It's worth more than any inheritance. This is Eleanor Walsh, and this is my story of how the worst betrayal of my life became the beginning of my best life. If you're listening to this and you're going through something similar, please know. You are stronger than you think, smarter than they believe, and more valuable than they could ever understand. Your scars are not your weakness. They are proof of your strength. And your story isn't over yet.